Thank you all so much for your time, your attention, your openness, your willingness to share this great content. I can't thank enough Akilah on our team and all of these amazing panelists that we have the pleasure of working with on a regular basis and hope to see more of, and to everyone that has engaged us and their appreciation around this series and just our willingness to keep the conversation going. At this point, we hope that you go back. If you haven't watched all 4 episodes, please do that, and please share these and keep sharing these. We want to keep the conversation going for a long time to come. The death of George Floyd at this point is about a month and a half ago, about 6 weeks ago. And still, we need to just keep our voices heard and make sure that was not for nothing, that his death meant something, and that we are, and all of the other people of color who have lost their lives before him and since. Honestly, that's the most upsetting part. So thank you to everyone so much for your openness and willingness to have this conversation. And if you ever need anything, please don't hesitate to contact Heather at channelmavenconsulting.com. Thank you.
Today, we're going to talk about a topic that is long overdue. And I ask that you watch and that you listen with an open mind and an open heart. We're going to share our experiences and our stories as it relates to racial injustice in the workplace. My name is Akilah Morel, and I am the Senior Director of Channel Marketing at Channel Maven. Now, honestly, I didn't think there was ever going to come a day where we could openly discuss racial issues in corporate, in a business setting. I didn't think there was ever going to come a day where we could openly share our experiences in a safe environment among the people that we work with every day. But I'm so thankful that in the past few weeks, the past few months, although it has come with pain and a lot of grief, we've been able to openly speak about these issues, and we've been given a platform like this one to do so. But why do you feel like Black employees hesitate to open up about themselves in a corporate setting? Does it have to do with not feeling safe, or is it giving too much information? Are they going to be viewed differently? What are your feelings on that, Nicole?
I think because there's a lot of experiences that Black employees go through that their white counterparts do not. And so there's fear that they're going to say the wrong thing and there's going to be retaliation. And we are so used to keeping all of that to ourselves. You know, we'll have the conversation with our Black peers, but that conversation is never opened up to our white ones. And for those that have done that, you know, there's been some retribution. And, you know, I'll say this, the company that I'm at right now, our CEO had a conversation with the Black employees. And what's great is he does want to hear that conversation. He does want to have that dialogue opened up. And so that is great. But I think it's going to take some people a little bit of time just because of the history to be able to fully open up.
Right. Yeah, it will come over time.
Yeah.
What do you think, Vernon?
Well, I think because we're all in business, I think the conflict is between capitalism and humanity, and I think in corporate America, look, at least in the U.S., we're capitalist and the way businesses are run, it's performance based and it's about making sure you achieve the results. And so I think that's always put first, more so than the humanity aspect of it. I'm not real sure that people that are Black and brown are often put in positions where they are set up for success. And so therefore, with the mask on and the fact that you're probably in a role that you're not set up for success in an environment that's not going to enable that. So you pile all that up and then you tell the person, okay, it's your time to speak up. Trust me, people think, really? You want me to speak up now? And I'm already at risk. So I think there's a little bit of that that's out there. What I like about what's happened now is, thank heavens for video. Because without the video, you end up with the, no, that can't be happening. I don't think that's, no, that, you know. And in the video, just look, we've been saying this for years. And now you got the video, you can see it. And you can tell that it's across socioeconomic boundaries. And you're hearing from people on this call who they, you know, who have people that admire them and work with them. And so all of a sudden it feels more normal. So now to speak about it is important. And here's what I would say. Most people that are Black and brown that I know, the fact that they've gotten into the roles with people like this on this call, that means they are incredibly talented. To get through the adversity of what happens with the Black tax, as Brian Gumbel calls it, and still be able to break through and be able to provide meaningful contributions to these corporations, should tell you, these are some talented folks, right? I mean, wait, you went through all that and you still knocking it down? I mean, so yes, you should listen to me because it's good for your company. And by the way, I know hundreds of other people that should be here with me helping this company. But because we've got our blinders on, because of ignorance, and because they're not willing to give people a chance, we're holding the world back. We're holding our company back. And so when I was at a really large company, one of the ERGs I was executive sponsors of, they asked me to say, Vernon, can you go get some money for us? Because we want to go do these things and that thing. And I said, sure, happy to go do that. But be clear about the value proposition that you're going to accomplish for the corporation. Remember, we're here to make money. So tell me how whatever program we're going to engage in is going to make sure they advance the cause of the company. Because that's easy for a CEO to align with that. But if it's just more sort of, I don't know, I'm going to give bad examples, but make sure that inside of your corporation, you're delivering value for that corporation while it's at the same time advancing the cause. The two go very nicely together. And that's one of the things I always tell folks is be ROI, return on investment driven. So.
Right. That's good. Wow. That's really, really good. Lori, I was just, as Brennan was talking about, you know, being set up for failure as opposed to being set up for success. Think back to early on in your career. Did you ever experience that in your career? And also, were you ever overlooked for a promotion and you felt like it was really just because of the color of your skin? Like, how did you overcome that challenge? Because now you're obviously clearly successful. Like Vernon said, you've been through all of this and yet you came out on top. But maybe you can share with the audience, like, how did you get to where you, it's several questions in one, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how did you do it? How did you overcome those challenges?
So, my mother had a saying that said, be so great that they can't ignore you. And so that's when I say I worked hard. I was the first one in the office. I was the last one in the office. I had done an interview last year and the lady kept using this word. She said, you're so lucky, you're so lucky. And I stopped her and I said, wait a minute. Maybe luck had something to do with it, but I worked my ass off to get here. Please don't disregard any of that stuff. So that was sort of one piece. Have I been limited because of the color of my skin? You know, not as much as others, right? Obviously. I have been limited being a woman in the workplace, and I definitely have experienced that. I've been in situations where people have treated me differently once they know my heritage and my background and sort of how I represent myself. And with each of those things, I always got better. It meant that I needed to be stronger. It meant that I needed to show up and do and produce and outperform. And that really became the driver for a lot of things that I did. So I never took it internally and decided to let it defeat me. It actually charged me into wanting more, becoming more, and being more driven about what I wanted to do and why. And part of that was because I wanted to get to a place where I could make decisions that impacted people's lives, right? I can make a decision about my team and who's part of my team. And I can make a decision about what we're going to talk about in the meeting. And I can start to influence people in different ways. And that was really my goal.
Right. That's really good. the time is going by quickly. So I just wanted to, there are 2 more questions for the panel, but before we get to it, I want to just challenge the audience right now. You know, I want you to think of you personally. Have you, as a C-suite or management, whatever your title is, have you reached out to your Black employees? Have you reached out and asked, you know, how are you doing? And we talked about this early on, that sometimes it's not even a matter of wanting to solve everything. All it is just knowing that you support us. I stand with you. I'm with you. And just knowing that. But I want you to kind of check yourself, like, really, have you, I've had plenty of conversations with my friends and peers in business, in the tech space, and we talk about these kind of things. Hey, has anyone reached out to you? Have you guys talked about what's going on staff calls? And I have to tell you, I'm extremely concerned and alarmed at the same time that a lot of these conversations are not happening at these companies. I can only speak for mine. We have talked about it very candidly. I shared with you all earlier on how that in the first time in my entire career, I felt safe expressing exactly how I feel and what I'm going through on an actual staff call. This wasn't behind closed doors with just my boss or a side conversation with my peer. I was able to just really express that. And so I think it's important that you think as an employer or as in senior management, you're creating that safe space to have these conversations. And these conversations will happen. We just want to know that you care. We know you're not going to have all the answers. And so my final 2 questions for each of the panelists are this, is this. 1, what is one piece of advice that you could give someone who wants to support a person of color, but doesn't really know where to begin and what to say? And then the second question would be, what's one piece of advice that you would want to give to a person of color to help them overcome workplace racial discrimination? I know we've kind of talked about it here and there, but let's wrap it up with those 2 questions. And Nicole, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, sure. So I think importantly is, as you mentioned already, reaching out, send that connection, send that note, the fact that they're coming from a place of honesty and caring and this humanity, they may not know what to say, but you can open that conversation and start that dialogue to find out what they can do to help support the cause. I was away on vacation a couple weeks ago, and this person came up to me and said, I am so sorry, I had no clue about everything that's going on in your community here in Canada. I've done a lot of reading, I've done a lot of research, and they asked me, a complete stranger asked me, what are some of the things that I can do to help? And I thought that is just great, and it's having those open and honest conversations and asking the questions of us. And then your other question about what can a person of color do to help overcome? Honestly, Vernon said it already, you have to dig deep. You have to find your allies and work with them. And really, as Lori, you said already, we have to work harder. We have to work smarter. If we do not do that, no one is going to see us. We need to showcase to all of the audiences out there that we have the abilities, we have the strengths, and we can do this. We got this, and we are great. So
that's good.
Yeah,
very good. Lori.
Okay, so the first question was advice for someone who wants to support a person of color. Okay, I guess if I were going to pick one, I have 5 in my head, but the one that comes through is become a better ally in the workplace for the people of color. So when you see injustice, speak up. And stand together. So just become a better ally. And part of that better ally is exactly what Nicole said, right? Which is, making sure that you acknowledge. I remember somebody reaching out to me early on, and they just said, listen, I know that this is a difficult time, but I'm sending you hugs and love. And I know that you're a warrior, and we're going to get to, and it was just like so beautiful. And I was like, oh, thank you. Right. I mean, it was just really, really nice. So that would be my one piece of advice. And then advice for a person of color is to understand the place and where we are, and to be part of the change means that we have to keep educating and talking about things that we've talked about 1,000 times. And it may feel recycled, but it is important. And if we don't do it, somebody else will, right?
Absolutely. That's good. Vernon.
Someone actually reached back and gave me really good advice early on in my professional career. It was Andy Young, who is the former UN ambassador during the Carter administration and mayor of Atlanta, and he's also a Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient. And the way I got to connect with Andy was I was winning a young executive award or something, and the reward for that was was to drive to the airport and pick him up. Yeah, exactly. It was some reward. But it turned out to be one of the greatest things that influenced my life. And so I took the opportunity to ask Andy one question. How'd you do it, Andy? How'd you achieve this level of success? And he said, well, Andy's from the South. Well, Vernon, he said, I kind of break it into 3 pieces. And by the way, I tell this to people that I mentor over and over and over again. He said, well, because I told him, I said, look, I am working harder than anybody I know. I'm convinced of that. And he said, well, young man, that's good. Keep doing that, because that'll give you the platform, because you'll see your worth and you'll go, this person is helping us with the ROI part of this. He said, but that's worth probably about 15% of getting ahead. And I went, you got to be kidding me. I mean, really? I mean, putting the results up is all that matters. He said, no, that's good. You should do that. He said, but the other, call it 30, 40% was really looking the part you want to be in. When you walk in the room, people got to see you as the VP or the president or whatever, even though you might be the individual contributor. They're gonna turn their heads and say, that young man and woman is on the bigger and better things. I thought, well, that's interesting. I think about that, but I get some new suits. And then the last bit, which is like 50%, he said, it's the network. You call people when you want to say, can I help you? Or can I do some research for you? Or can I pick you up from the airport? Create the relationships, by the way, diverse relationships. Because in many cases, I can look back at my career, it wasn't the Black men and women that got me the job or advanced me, it was other folks who were sensitive to the fact that diversity was important, and they saw the talent or the new suit or whatever the example was. So I thought it was great that he was able to give that to me early. And by the way, it has played out over and over. It is the relationships at the end of the day that creates the velocity and the advancement in opportunities. You got to be good at what you do. The results have got to be better than everybody else's. You got to look the part, and you got to have the relationship. So that's what I coach. How do I make it scale? Well, for instance, I'm on the board of the National Advisory Council for Black MBA, right? So from the perspective that I can get my hands on some young folks and kind of depart whatever little bit of gems I have, but it scales and give that kind of advice to hundreds, if not thousands, of kids all over the world that are coming out of HBCUs or out of Harvard or other schools, to give them sort of the blueprint for success. That's something I try to also do too. Again, I'm big on how do I use my platform to scale so that thousands of people benefits. It's funny is my kids ignore me because they're like, whatever, Dad. And I go into a public forum, they're like, oh, Vernon's here, that kind of thing. But that's just the way it is, right? Your kids just don't care.
Right.
But you know what I tell my kids? I have since they were little guys. I said, please start a company that helps us get to Mars. Or please start a company and all you got to learn Mandarin or Cantonese, because I'm trying to get them to say, this world is going to change rapidly in the next decade or two. We won't even recognize it. So be a part of what's coming, not where you are. And you have been given a platform to achieve that level of success. Don't waste it.
Well said.
Good.
Right,
Well said.
Yes. And when you think of it, we're doing this really for the next gen, for our kids, right? We're trying to set them up so they don't really have to do, not that it's going to eliminate, nothing's going to be perfect, but let's set them up for success, right, Vernon? Let's make sure that they take it and then just go even far beyond. So this conversation is even way beyond us. You know, yes, this is the business audience, but really we're setting it up for our children who are to come. So I appreciate your time today, your transparency. I'm sorry that we're out of time, but I want to make a pact with you all, because now, you know, we've put it out there, and let's take this and be responsible. Let's be that voice. You know, Lori, you talked about that. I agree with you, but let's continue to be that voice. Nicole, let's continue to be part of those diversity councils and boards in our companies, and Vernon, where we are there. And then eventually it's just going to be a domino effect, right? Everyone is going to be talking about it, and it's going to become the norm, which it should have been the norm in the beginning, but that's okay. It'll become the norm. And one day when we walk into these conference rooms, we can walk in with confidence and not think, oh, I'm the token Black person of the company. No, I'm just a great employee, and I have a lot to offer, and you're going to hear what I have to say. So I thank you for the time, and I hope you all have just a great afternoon, great weekend. We're filming this on a Friday, so enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.